It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Marshall Wood and Dale McKee, ready to talk a little sports. How you doing, Dale? Ready to go?
I'm going good. How about you?
I'm going good, too. Boy, what an interesting weekend of football.
Kind of a sad week for me. I don't know about you.
Well, tell me about that. Tell me about your sadness.
My sadness?
Yeah, you're sad. Why are you sad? Why's a sad week for you?
Well, a couple of my teams, they kind of had a lead and they let it slip away, unfortunately. You know, I just think some bad karma happened or something.
Bad karma. Yeah, that karma will get you every time.
Gets you every time.
Well, I know one of them you're talking about. Southern Mississippi took on Liberty this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the ones you're talking about. That was a tough one. I mean, had a chance, But, coming in here, Liberty was a favorite. Liberty's made a lot of noise nationally the last couple of years, as you know as well as anybody. And, and Southern, I tell you what, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But Southern, they stood as tall as they could stand, I suppose. It was a ball game. It was they had their fair shot at it.
They sure did. Yeah. They had a couple of shots, They, of course, now, they were in their own worst enemy problem.
Yeah.
When you have 5 turnovers. And you really don't have a quarterback that you can depend on. And that's one thing that really was probably makes USM just an average team this year, if they get to 500, because they really don't have an experienced backup quarterback. They got Ty Keys, and of course, he got hammered on a hit, and they threw the boy out that hit him from Liberty. But, it swung his head around a little bit, so you don't know how that's going to affect him. Week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you just ever what it is. But, you just gotta have somebody back there. And then now Will Hall said in his press conference that he put his super back in there, which was
Frank Gore Jr.
And old Junior shine now.
He can do it.
Yeah.
He's special.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's a special kid. He's not all that big, He's but he gives you everything he has. But you know what? I think they're turning the corner. They had 24,000 people there. Of course, Will Hall didn't like the attendance. I think he thought it should have been up over 30 for a team like Liberty that's been to 3 straight bowl games, and has a very good program for the size school they are. So I think that Will is slowly turning that corner.
I feel that. I really do. We got some other state schools we'll talk about, but I tell you what, the game that was on TV last night was an interesting game. Watching LSU.
LSU. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have to admit this. I kind of fell asleep in the fourth quarter, and my wife comes in there, and I think her mission was to turn the TV off.
Your mission, Mrs. McKee, should you choose to accept it.
And so when she came in, she said, they just scored a touchdown. They're going to tie the game.
Wrong again. I was sitting there, and they scored, and I wasn't even looking up. I was looking down at my phone, and I heard, it's blocked. That's the second kick they had blocked. Didn't they have a field goal attempt blocked?
I think they did. I was in and out of of watching the game. I was actually watching some tape highlights of the Ole Miss Central Arkansas game that I didn't get to see Saturday because going down to Hattiesburg. So I was going to watch a little bit of that and see how that game did. And I'd like to see the Mississippi State replay sometime to see. Boy, Will Rogers is just stripping in that ball like a salesman.
That's what I'm talking about.
Passing that merchandise out.
Man, if we get a chance, we're going to talk about him in the final segment. But who we got as our guest tonight? Tell us about our guest, Dale.
Well, I'm going to let you pronounce the newspaper to see if you can do it right.
The Gazebo Gazette.
The Gazebo
No,
Gazette.
it's not the Gazebo. It's the Gazebo Gazette.
All right, we have the owner and the publisher and a sports writer all in one. He's got a little paper down there in Harrison County. He's going to talk a little Saints football for us and college football. He goes to all the games, Southern Miss. He knows the old Biloxi head football coach named Bobby Hall. So, he's got a little attachment to Wayne County. He knows a couple of people up here.
Yeah.
So he said, besides me and you.
Okay.
His network is in Wayne County is improving a lot there. So we'll have him in a minute.
And on that note, we're going to take a break to hear from a sponsor. Then we'll be back with tonight's guest right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Hunter Dawkins. How are you today, Hunter?
I'm doing well, my friend, Mr. Dale. This is great. It's football season, and I'm telling you what, everybody's got their high horses on their teams and everybody else. Even though we were unlucky, at least from a Southern Miss perspective last week, we're moving forward with everything. We had great games all the way across the board, high school, college, and pro.
All right, well, listen, I know that you have a little coverage of the Saints. Tell us about this, what you expect out of the Saints this year. Is our quarterback play going to be a little bit better? Is our defense going to be as good as the wide receiver has been, brought in some fresh meat?
They've been highlighted pretty much to the national media that we've got all the keys and, and all the rest. Yeah. If that's what you want to know, I'll have a good perspective of you for that. But first off, I do want to say, Dale and Mr. Wood, that I've been lucky the last 4 years with the Saints communication staff has really reached out to me and really given me a platform. Right now, I'm the only Mississippi guy covering the Saints, at least. And now, in a game-wide perspective, they let LOX and XXV, the two TV stations on the coast, come and cover the games. But from a newspaper perspective and from a weekly perspective, I'm the only Mississippi guy, and I've been very lucky for that, and I want to thank the organization for that. As far as in my column, as I wrote last week, and the column title was "And then the Saints will go marching in." The positives, everybody, has been wondering here, there, and everywhere else, what's the biggest positives? And obviously, we had a winning culture that was built by Sean Payton for 16 years, and that, of course, still reminisces throughout the organization. But I will tell both of you, and you hear this and you say, oh, well, we've gotten a lot of the defense is really that good. You can ask anybody that's been there. This is the best defense in the NFL right now. One of the key things, I hope I'm not taking up too much time, but I'll tell you this. One of the last practices I went to, there was 10 goal line plays from the first team, second team, third team offense, all starting from the 2-yard line. The defense didn't even allow them to get past the 2-yard line 10 straight times. Passes, runs, screens, shovels, didn't matter what it was. The defense shut them down every single time. Yeah, they really are that good. Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport, DeMario, Marshawn Lattimore, Honey Badger, they are really that good.
Stopping the team that at the 2 that many times, that just doesn't happen. Not even in practice.
That doesn't happen at any level. Yeah. Let alone even at your local high school level. You might get lucky and get here or there. No, it was that good.
Well, the last 2 years have proved it. They've been in the top 10 in both scoring and total defense in the last couple years, and they always seem to have old Tom Brady's number for some reason.
Well, and that was one of the things that I wrote in the column is, and especially this year, one of their key factors is their division. Their division is so weak minus Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay having the struggling injuries in their offensive line, where the most positive, if you've seen in the Super Bowls, where the Patriots lost to the Giants twice, it was because the middle of their offensive line was hurt. And they got up the middle and stopped Brady pretty well. And the Saints have had that luck. The front four are the best in the NFL. Marcus Davenport, Cameron Jordan, David, I don't know how to say his last name, but it's the African last name, and then Shy Tuttle. Those four guys can just bring it every single time.
You mentioned the new coach.
Yes, sir.
I mean, at a high school level, I've said time and time again, the success of any athletic program at the high school level, to me, falls on the coach. I mean, it's a product of your coaching. Now, when we climb up the ladder and we're looking at the NFL, that's probably not as big a deal. I mean, but coaching's big, and we got a new one. How's he doing?
From a certain perspective, and I've had the luck to interview Coach Allen quite a number of times, and he must have had a coaching session with Sean Payton for a good little while. He has the ability really to break it down, the synonymous practices with this is what we're doing, this is the process. He doesn't get overboard in one area, and he doesn't really get underboard saying, oh, we were bad today, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. He said, look, this is the stable level. Even when I was in Houston, when the Saints lost the first preseason game, just by a few plays here or there, and plus they had the third team in for most of the game, he kept everything positive. He said, look, this is where we're going. And when you break it down, guys, and look into the real portion of the team, the coaching staff is not necessarily that much different than what Coach Payton had when they were winning there for years and years. Pete Carmichael is still the offensive coordinator. Pete Carmichael's been the offensive coordinator for about, 15 years. And he was Sean Payton's right-hand man. He was Drew Brees' right, and Jameis and all the rest of those guys came. You get to know him on the first day. I wouldn't say the playbook is the same, but then again, you can't be the same in the NFL, because if you're using the same playbook you did 15 years ago, you're going to get shot out pretty quickly.
Well, one thing that I'm impressed about is their size on the defensive line, and they do have big cornerbacks. To me, they do. But also, in the run game last year, I don't think did anybody even have a 100-yard rusher against the Saints?
No, absolutely not. And that is one thing that I spoke with Cameron Jordan about the other day in a press conference that I went to. I said, Cam, I understand that you guys love rushing the quarterback from the defensive end and running on the edge platform, but y'all have stopped the run so greatly from doing it. He said, look, Hunter, this is what we're made on our size level and our defensive schemes to stop the run. That's got to be the first case scenario, because when we can stop the run, the 3rd and 9s, the 3rd and 7, 3rd and long, we can come after the quarterback and we can do what we want to do, making moves we want to make. And I certainly have to agree, having Shy and the David gentleman, I can't remember his last name, it starts with an O, but you guys will see what I mean when you read his name. But having those guys and having a good linebacking crew for the last couple of years with Demario Davis, the Mississippi boy, South Mississippi boy, that has virtually been the factor of stopping the run.
Well, I've always said, heard, and believe it. If you want to win championships, you got to run the ball and stop the run. I mean, it all starts and stops up front. So that's encouraging to know right there.
Well, one of their talk about the offense for a little bit. their big offensive tackle, that Trevor Pennington.
Trevor Penning, yes, sir.
Yeah, he had foot surgery, and he's going to be out until probably a couple more months. So is that going to hurt them, help them? I'm sure it's not provide at least depth, but do they have a capable replacement, I guess?
It's obviously going to be a tough scenario because he was brought in to replace Armstead. And, Armstead was quite a demeaning, guy. I mean, he was a big guy, and he made attempts to really shut down, your left tackle on your defense is one of your or on your offense is one of your most big-time guys for any offensive system. The thing is, pretty much the offensive line is in place, and I think they're going to bring in James Hurst, who has done a pretty good job in the last few years when Armstead has been out. So Hurst is he's kind of babying his own injury that he's had in the past, but from what it looks like right now, and they've gone to a lot better scheme in the last few months where they're focusing more on running the ball than they are on the Drew Brees style. Not that there was anything wrong with Drew Brees. Obviously, Drew Brees is a future Hall of Famer and pretty much set the tone for the New Orleans culture. But as you are aware, the offensive underrated players on the team outside of the offensive line are the two running backs, Ingram and Kamara. Those two guys, they've been under the radar, as I put in my column, all year, and they're both pretty popular guys. They've been to a combined 7 or 8 Pro Bowls, but they kind of go at their own speed. They kind of just walk through it pretty easily, and at the end of the day, you'll see, damn, they ran for 150, 200 yards. Damn, that was it. So.
Well, what's the Kamara situation from his?
That's what a lot of people have asked me about, and I've told a few people now this is just released just recently. Last week, they announced his hearing in the Vegas scenario will be October. I believe it's the 16th. I could be wrong about that, but that's about the timeline when they have the hearing. Now, I don't think there's going to be sentencing till a little bit later, depending on who the judge is and what that scenario works out. I really can't tell you anything about that it's a mess. The Kamara should not have done that, but, he did what he did, and he's got to serve his time at whatever. The biggest issue with that, and as you guys have seen from the Deshaun Watson case, is how is the NFL going to react? How many games is he going to be suspended? And this is if he's not in jail, but how many games is he going to be suspended? How many games is going to be taken away? This, that, and the other. And I will say the Saints are preparing for it pretty well. They've got Tony Jones Jr. and Dwayne Johnson and Ingram. All three of those guys get the same number of reps as Kamara does on the first team in practice. So.
Okay. All right, well, let's switch it just for a little bit. Let's talk about the college game this weekend. How'd you think?
Yes, sir.
How'd you think about the big three, Southern, Ole Miss, and State?
I'm telling you what, I'll start off with the kind of easy cake scenarios with Ole Miss and State. For me, I wasn't really, I think Lane Kiffin was really happy that they got out of the game against Troy with a victory. I got to speak with Troy's coach when I was covering the Sun Belt Conference in New Orleans this year. I went to the media day for the Sun Belt Conference, and that guy was a really good man. He had his two players come down with him, and they were just really classy, and they were ready to go on the field and get things going. And I thought they were really a confident group of kids, and the coach was obviously confident. And of course, you watch the game film, and last year they had a really good defense, but you weren't really sure how they were going to come out against the high-profile Lane Kiffin transfer portal offense that he had with Dart and those kids, but he took it to him. And, you know, I didn't suspect that Troy was going to even score 10 points, but I was pretty, you know, I think it puts Ole Miss in a good perspective. And as far as from Mississippi State goes, I really think that was just a retaliation game. I don't think Memphis has a whole lot of talent because of some of the things they lost last year. And State is really, I mean, they're an SEC team, and they're in the SEC West, and so that pretty much puts them at the top of their class in college football. So it's definitely definitely a revenge game. Southern Miss, you know, all I can say is I have to agree with, you know, I've been a Will Hall fan most of the time since he's been the coach. And now there are some things, you know, that running the superback offense, you know, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out. Me personally as a former coach, I'm I'm obviously not smart enough to be that level. And plus, you know, he brought in a number of quarterbacks in the off season, and I did hear Will today say that, you know, his transfer kid from Ohio wasn't necessarily ready yet. I believe that's where he's from, Ohio. I'm not sure, but the transfer kid wasn't ready yet. But still, you know, when are you going to be ready? You know, when can you get out of that? Now I know Gore was comfortable in playing the superback offense, but I'll say this though: Liberty is going to be happy at the end of the year if they get in a bowl game by winning that game, because that was a good game that USM has really put together. And as I said, you know, Will Hall made the quote last year after a close loss. He said, "They all better get us now because they're not going to get us in the future."
Yeah. I was just, you know, like I said, I just think lack of depth at quarterback there. You did have the injury to Ty Keys, and there's really not anybody ready to go. They thought that second guy they brought in might have done
Trey Lowe.
Yeah, Trey, but I think he threw an interception. And then they've got a freshman from Hernando that played in Mississippi-Alabama game last year. And and Will said after the game, he said he's just not ready. And said he will be ready, but he's not ready, and he's going to be a good one, but he's just not ready to go yet. And so,
sure, and I understand. You know, I'm not calling the plays, thank God, for USM, so I don't really know. And Will is. I mean, he's a hell of an offensive coordinator in the past, and he's done a great job with the teams he's had, but I never would be comfortable in that scenario. But that's why I'm not the head coach. So.
Yeah, well, watching the game in person down there, I thought the defense was a lot better, especially around the defensive line. They've got some depth there now. They rotate some people in and out. But the biggest thing that hurt them was they fumbled the ball twice inside the 5, once in each half.
Of course.
And so when you do that, it's like he said after the game, he said, maybe we should have been up 34-17. I mean, you know. And of course. You know, so. Anyway.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. You know, and Will, obviously, he's a well-experienced coach and has been around the block. But, yeah, it's tough with the, you know, and I've been to a few scrimmage practices at USM this year, and I got the chance to see a bunch of guys because, you know, USM has quite a few coach kids. And actually, some from my area that I write for in the paper down here, there's, I believe, 4 or 5 kids from this area now in USM, and it's tough. But, you know, I'm with Will, you know, get him now because you don't know if you're going to get him in the future.
Sure.
So.
I think he's going to end up doing a great job. Okay, now we got to be quick on these next two. I want you to give me just a lowdown on Gulf Coast Community College, and then I want you to tell us some of the high schools down there that we might look forward to in like 5 and 6A.
Sure. Well, I'm not necessarily too key on Perk this year because I hadn't really followed them as much as I should have. I will tell you guys, though, Dr. Mary Graham, who's the president of Perk, is one of my good friends, and she's she is all about football. I mean, she wants me to come up there and just to sit down in the suite with her, not even to cover the game. I'm like, oh, come on, Dr. Graham. She's like, we got to get you here. I said, no, I believe you. But Jack's he's done a great job there, and he won a national championship, and they're doing a great job recruiting. And for them, it's just a year-by-year basis. You're never going to get all the kids that you want. And just like with Pearl River, who's a lot closer to me, but also, too, I'm really good friends with the athletic director there, Patrick Ox. And, they've been so down for the last couple of years. They've had a few different coaches also and a few different ways of running the program. I hope they're going to have a better year this year, but from the same perspective, it's so tough to coach a bunch of kids that you don't know how long they're going to be there for, because any college can just run in there and say, yep, come on in, especially after this transfer portal. There's no telling, if you're going to even be there for 2 days. So
that's true. Well, tell us about the high schools down there in 5A. Tell us about the old team, Picayune. Tell us about Picayune. A lot of people waver or keep up with Picayune scores.
Picayune is the real deal. Unfortunately, they're definitely the tough one for the teams in my area that I cover. But they have to play a lot of the teams in my district that I cover down here, and they beat the hell out of them. I mean, everybody was thinking, well, Dodd's leaving after Coach Lee retired a couple years ago. Coach Lee was a great head coach. He was one of the best in the state. And even so, your college coaches talk about Dodd Lee and the program he ran, how he was running those kids from recreational league, middle school, and all the rest. They're always running the wing tee. Just get in that wing tee and they just follow it. And the same thing, there's been some guys in the systems down here. They've really tried to put that together, but it's so hard when you don't have the experience and you don't have the legacy set down here to just come in the program and say, yeah, we're going to run this. Well, you haven't proven yourself. And so until you win some games, the Picayune they're just as good as they always have been. And, you never know what's going to happen. Pastor Shan, one of the schools that I cover down here, is, they've been through kind of some hit or miss from the years. Really, the pandemic has caused a lot of problems for them in the past 2 years, but they're getting back. Their division's getting it's kind of changing here and there, especially with the adding of the 7A classification next year. They'll be playing in the same division as Picayune, but at the same sense, they're starting to get together. Long Beach is overcoming a lot of injuries, and they're coming to switching coaches, and they're just not. I don't think they're there yet. West Harrison is doing a lot better. They're in the same division with Picayune too, but their coaching staff has really put a good team together and all the rest. And my alma mater, Stanislaus, we're shrinking, but we're playing a good level division, and we'll just take care of what we can do. So.
Hunter, we're just about out of time, but before we go, tell our listeners how that they can follow you and keep up with you online, or any way that they can.
Absolutely. Well, as you guys know, as I mentioned, I'm the Gazebo Gazette. I'm the publisher and owner, and of course, anytime you want a subscription, you guys just leave them my number, and we'll hit it from there.
Gotcha.
But if you want to follow me online on the website, is VTHE Gazebo GAZEBO Gazette GAZETTE.com. TheGazeboGazette.com.
Gotcha.
It'll give you all the information that you need. If you want to get a subscription, you can buy it. We not only have paper subscriptions, we have online. We'll send it to you every Friday. We'll have it sitting there waiting for you on your computer when you open up. I try to keep up with the news around the county, around the state, and all the rest. And And then, I love to throw in some football every third story. So,
Good deal.
So it's all we can do.
Well, we're going to promote that for you on our end up here. Dale and I want to thank you so much, Hunter, for taking time and being with us today, and wish you well in all of your endeavors. I'm going to sign us off now, but I want you to just to stay with us, and we're going to sign off. But stick around. We'll chat a little more after the show, okay?
Well, I want you guys to know that I appreciate both of y'all having me on, and anything I can do for y'all, you let me know.
We're going to do that. Stay here with us. But the horn's about to blow, so we got to get ready to go. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and on YouTube, you guessed it, the Brouhaha. Be sure to tune in next week, same Brouhaha time, same Brouhaha channel for more of the Brouhaha. But Dale, you know what time it is?
No, I don't.
Tell us what. It's time to say goodbye.
Oh, goodbye, Dale.
Well, that is a wrap. Take us out of here, Jamie.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.